Something subtle has already shifted. You may not be able to point to it. You may not have words for it. But life is no longer being checked against anything. And that changes how moments are met. This episode is not about doing something differently. It's about noticing what happens when nothing is being adjusted anymore. Earlier, even after learning had settled, there was still a quiet sense of orientation. A way of standing slightly outside experience and asking if it was okay, if it fit, if it meant something. Now, that stance is loosening. Not because you decided to drop it, but because it no longer feels necessary. You may notice this most clearly in very ordinary moments. Walking from one room to another, waiting for something to load, listening to someone speak. There's no inner commentary about presence. No reminder to stay here. You're simply here. This isn't a state. It doesn't feel special. It feels unremarkable, and that's what makes it easy to miss. Earlier in the journey, attention was often active. Watching, tracking, correcting. That effort was useful. It helped awareness stabilize. But now, attention isn't doing much. It's not scanning experience. It's not checking whether anything is off. It's resting with what's already happening. Staying with what is already happening doesn't mean holding on to experience. It means not leaving it. There's a difference. Leaving often looked like this: explaining the moment, judging it, comparing it to another moment, wondering if it should feel different. Those movements happened quickly and often quietly. Now, they're happening less. And when they do happen, they don't take over. You may notice that experience feels closer. Not more intense, just closer. Sounds are heard directly. Sensations are felt plainly. Emotions move without requiring a story. Nothing is being added. Nothing is being taken away. This can feel unfamiliar, especially if you were used to relating to life through reflection. But it's not a loss of depth. It's a loss of distance. Staying with what is already happening also means staying with moments that don't resolve. Moments that don't lead anywhere. Moments that don't teach anything. Moments that are just there. Earlier, those moments often triggered restlessness. The urge to move on. To check something. To distract. Now, restlessness may still appear, but it's not obeyed automatically. It's noticed. And noticing is enough. This doesn't mean you become passive. You still move. You still act. But action isn't driven by the need to escape the present moment. It arises from within it. One of the quiet changes in Season 3 is how motivation feels. Earlier, motivation was often tied to self-reference, improvement, progress, alignment. Now, motivation is simpler. Something needs doing, and it gets done. No extra meaning attached. This doesn't make life flat. It makes it clean. There's less internal friction, less negotiation with yourself, less commentary about what it says about you. You may notice that decisions feel less dramatic. You don't weigh them as heavily, not because they don't matter, but because they don't define you. You choose. You act. You adjust if needed. Life continues. Staying with what is already happening also changes how discomfort is met. Discomfort still arises. Physical, emotional, situational. But it's no longer immediately framed as a problem. It's felt, and often, it moves on its own. Earlier, discomfort often triggered effort. Fixing, understanding, managing. Now, there's more tolerance for not knowing. Not as a principle, as a lived reality. You may notice that you don't rush to resolution. Not because you're resisting it, but because it's not required for okayness. Some things resolve, some don't. Both are workable. This stage is not about being calm. Calm comes and goes. It's about being available. Available to what's here without needing to reposition yourself. Staying with what is already happening also changes how time is experienced. Not dramatically, but subtly. There's less anticipation of what's next. Less pulling forward. The next thing happens when it happens. And you're already there. You may notice that you forget to think about awareness. Hours pass without checking in. And nothing falls apart. That's not neglect. That's trust. Trust doesn't feel like confidence. It feels like familiarity. You've seen experience unfold without supervision. Enough times that supervision no longer feels necessary. This familiarity also softens urgency. Not urgency to act, urgency to figure out. Questions don't press as hard. They may arise, but they don't demand answers. You might notice that language changes internally. Fewer labels, fewer conclusions, more direct contact with what's happening. Words are used when needed and dropped when they're not. This can feel awkward in a world that values explanation. But you're not withholding. You're simply not translating experience into meaning automatically. Staying with what is already happening also affects how you relate to others. You listen more fully because you're not preparing a response. You speak more simply because you're not defending a position. Connection feels less effortful, not because it's perfect, but because it's unforced. You may notice that some conversations feel unnecessary now. Not wrong, just no longer compelling. You're less interested in circling questions that don't lead anywhere. This isn't withdrawal. It's clarity. This stage doesn't make you detached. It makes you less preoccupied. You're still engaged, but you're not managing engagement. Another subtle shift is how mistakes are experienced. They're noticed, corrected if needed, and released. There's less replay, less self-evaluation. Life doesn't pause to analyze what went wrong. This isn't indifference. It's proportion. Mistakes take up the space they need, no more. Staying with what is already happening also means allowing unevenness. Some days feel open, others feel dull. Some moments feel connected, others don't. None of this requires interpretation. Earlier, variation often triggered concern. Now, variation is expected. Life isn't supposed to feel one way. This stage rarely feels impressive. There's nothing to point to, no insight to share, no clear marker. But there is stability, a quiet sense that you're no longer bracing against experience. You're not trying to stay present. You're not trying to let go. You're simply not interfering as much. This is why Season 3 is different. Nothing is being introduced. Nothing is being resolved. What's happening is already happening, and you're staying with it. You may notice that the desire to do something with experience has softened, not because nothing matters, but because experience doesn't need handling. It moves. You move with it. Staying with what is already happening is not a practice. It's what remains when the impulse to manage life relaxes. You don't need to remember this. You don't need to agree with it. If it resonates, it will show up naturally. If it doesn't, nothing is missing. Life doesn't require commentary to be lived. It only requires presence. And presence is already here. If you find yourself simply continuing with your day after this ends, without needing to think about it, that's exactly right. If any of this felt familiar, you don't need to hold on to it. But if you'd like to stay connected, you're welcome to. Liking the video helps it reach others who may already be living this quietly without having words for it yet. And if these reflections support you as life continues to unfold without explanation, you can subscribe, not to follow a path, but to keep the door open. And if someone you care about has been feeling less interested in answers and more comfortable just being where they are, you're welcome to share this with them. Only if it feels natural. Sometimes it helps to know that nothing needs to change for life to be lived fully.